Sat and watched you get on the train, with wounds so fresh, still in pain. You didn't see me, you thought I'd gone, now you're gone. The engine screamed as you pulled away. I finally thought all the words to say. It's sad they came just a minute late. Should've made you wait. And now I'm left with my pride and you leaving. What I want is to just tell you what I should have said, what I should have said, what I could have said, what I could have said, what I should have done to make you stay, yeah. 'Cause there's so much more to tell after farewell. I'm the wheel and I turn the key. An empty road out in front of me. Threw it in gear and I drove away. Nothing more to say. And now I'm stuck in the in-between, with the darkness ahead of me. The sunlight back where I used to be, I can hardly see. I can hardly see. 600 miles till I get where I'm going. 600 miles just to think about what I should have said, what I should have said, what I could have said, what I could have said, what I should have done to make you stay, to make you stay, yeah. 'Cause there's so much more to tell after farewell. Why can't I ever say the word? Why do I always walk away? What I should have said, what I should have said, what I could have said, what I could have said, what I should have done to make you stay, to make you stay. 'Cause there's so much more to tell. There's so much more to tell. Yes, there's so much more to tell after farewell. After farewell. Hey everybody, welcome to the Sunday Storyteller series. I am your host, John Taglieri. Welcome back. It's Sunday. It's what we do. We are here, 6 p.m. How's everybody doing this week? It has been a fun week. Lots of good stuff going on. We are right now premiering this show here on Facebook, as well as Roku and YouTube, all at the same time from now on. We're also on Periscope and Twitch, so we are on all 5 places at the same time right now. Did I just do 10? I just did 10, but that doesn't matter. You get the gist, 5 places. And I hope you're watching. I mean, seriously, what else have you got to do? We're quarantined. Just stay here every Sunday with me. This week, I got a great guest for you. We're going to get to that in a minute. I want to make sure you know the schedule for the week. So like I said, right now we're live. We are here. And Thursdays at 7, We're on the Plymouth Rock TV station on Roku as well. In the near future, give or take about a month or so, maybe, I believe we're also going to be on Amazon Prime as well as Apple TV. So it's just going to keep growing, guys. Thanks for coming back every week. I want to start to tell you a little bit about the guest I have this week. He's a longtime friend of mine. We have been around the horn together. We've been signed to the same agent. We've had the same publicists. We've been friends forever. I've known the band a long time. His name is Brant Menswar. Brant is he's an enigma. He's had 2 bands that he got signed to record deals. He has one was Fort Pastor, and one of them it was Big Kettle Drum. He is a best-selling author. He's one of the top 10 motivational speakers in the country. His new book, Black Sheep: Unleash the Extraordinary, Awe-Inspiring, Undiscovered You, comes out September 29th. Big Kettle Drum music has been heard on dozens of TV shows. There's too many to even list. He's played with Brandi Carlile and Sister Hazel and Switchfoot and Tonic and Michael Tolcher and Will Hogan. The list goes on and on and on and on. So I'm just going to bring him on, and we're going to have an awesome conversation about songwriting and music. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brant Menswar. What's going on, buddy?
What's happening, pal?
How are you?
How you doing?
I am well.
I'm doing fantastic.
Good. Welcome to the show. Thanks for doing this.
Dude, I am so excited for you. Like, watching this grow from sort of just this idea that you had to here you are a couple of weeks later, 35 million potential households. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's been a little bit of a ride, man. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's been interesting, and I just kind of, bury my head down and try to make a little better product every week. I figure if I can make 1 or 2 improvements every week, then I'm doing it right. I've got, amazing guests booked right till the end of August at this point, and I'm flattered that every one of them has said yes, especially you, my friend. I know how busy you are. Although right now the world is kind of locked up and we're all kind of stuck in our houses, so that's that. So tell everybody a little bit more about you than I did. Introduce the world to you.
Well, you and I go way back, man. I mean, it's got to be 10, 15 years now.
I want to say closer to 15. I know I met JT probably 2005.
Yeah.
4?
Yeah. I mean, seriously, it's like I started off as a singer-songwriter early 2000. I went out on tour. I quit my job in 2003, and that's really when I first started music full-time. Was on the road a couple of years, playing the coffee shops and doing that sort of thing. Met a concert promoter who put me in touch with JT Keel, who has been my bandmate for the better part of 20 years.
Yep.
And I took him to England. We went to play a festival over there called the Greenbelt Festival. And while we were over there, this was probably 2005, either 5 or 6, we met an Australian group called River Tribe. And this was going to be their last show. They were breaking up. And so one of their bandmates, John O'Callo, who's one of the best didgeridoo players in the world, we snagged Jono and invited him to come over to the States. We formed the first band, Fort Pastor, where we did this sort of Australian-American, centered around the didgeridoo, this sort of world instrument conglomerate that we had. And that's how we signed our first record deal.
Yep.
And we were together about 3 years. And then, we sort of, Jono went back to Australia, got married. Now he has a couple of kids. And JT and I released solo records. And then in 2009, I was doing some work with Not For Sale, which is one of the largest anti-human trafficking organizations in the world. And I was their artist in residence for a couple of years. And we were doing this sort of last tour with them, and it was a full production tour, bus, the whole bit. And so there were like 3 or 4 just total rock and roll bands, and I did not want to be John Denver, with all the rock and roll guys. And so I called JT. I'm like, dude, you got to come out here and help me because there's no way we're doing this. So, we sort of did the Mumford and Sons thing before Mumford really hit. And so we were doing suitcase kick drum. He was playing slide guitar and banjo. And, we sort of put together this one, it was really for one tour. we decided to call it Big Kettle Drum, basically off of the Johnny Cash song When the Man Comes Around. And by the fourth show, we had added a drummer. By the time we were finished, we had a bass player. We decided to record a demo, and it was going to be our swan song, really, this last tour. And it ended up leading to, 10 more years of touring and another record deal, and
Isn't that fun?
five more albums. I think it was just insane, crazy.
Isn't it fun when you just don't expect it? That's the best. That's the best parts of it. You know.
At least it's working, right? I'm like, you're not pushing for nothing, and so it was.
Yeah.
It was a nice surprise. I mean, here we are, almost 20 years later, and just it's a little, to survive that long and still have nobody know who the hell you are is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Who has two thumbs and knows that feeling? This guy.
This guy. Yes.
Yeah, but you know what, man? We have both had a fair modicum of success. We may never have been household names, but we've kind of owned our careers in this business as far as that's concerned.
We used to think we were the hardest working men in show business until we met you.
Oh, come on now. Come on.
And then we said, yeah, no, that dude's the hardest working dude in show business right there. It's insane. You have sustained for so many years and played so many shows, and it's just like, I honestly, I would expect you to look about 136 years old by now, because that is how hard you have worked for the last 20 years, man. It's just amazing.
You know what, man? I've always said, you do what you love. You don't go to work. You don't go to work. You don't have stress. You don't have stress. You don't look old.
Amen.
You have the good stress. You don't have the that keeps you up at night developing wrinkle stress. You have the fun stress because you got to get things done.
That's right. That's why I got to play with the light, man. I got to play with the light to keep the wrinkles off of this side of the face.
What do you think? Why do you think I have all this? It's so nobody's looking at me. They're all looking at the room. That's it.
Distracting.
Exactly.
Yes.
How do you get from rock and roll guy on a tour bus to motivational speaking?
Yeah, that was not the plan. In 2012, my oldest son was 14 years old and was diagnosed with a rare blood cancer, and required a bone marrow transplant to save his life. And that was just like this harrowing experience. I mean, you were there, and it was one of those things where, we spent 263 straight days in the hospital with him. And so it just forced me to come off the road. We couldn't be out. We tried to sort of tour, and he'd be okay for a little bit, and then he'd take this bad turn, and we almost lost him more times than I care to remember. But it was right around 2013 that I just knew that I had to figure out something else. And a buddy of mine, Alan Schaefer, was starting this organization called Banding. Yeah, you know Alan.
Yeah, Alan's awesome, man. He's a great guy.
5-Star Iris.
Hell of a singer.
Another great band.
Yeah.
He had started this organization called Banding People Together. And so I sort of was like the first guy in the door with him to sort of help figure out what this would look like. We started off as sort of a team building organization where we'd go in and write songs with people. And, here we are about eight years later, and it's this full-blown collaborative consultancy with its own methodology and behavioral assessments. And I mean, the thing is insane, but that was the start. I sort of went in under Banding, and a couple of years ago, in addition to still working with Banding, I went out on my own. I wrote my first book, started to keynote different conferences, and about 18 months ago, things just really started to take off. And so an article came out with the largest speaking bureau in the world. They named me one of the top 10 motivational speakers in the country, which was just insane. It was like Magic Johnson and Jack Nicklaus and Amy Cuddy and like these incredible people. And I was blown away. And when that happened, it was just like that really sort of solidified me to go out and do the big now instead of concerts, it's the big conferences, and keynote for a few thousand people all the time. Well, now it's my life, and it's been an incredible, just an incredible blessing to sort of, we joke about it. You and I have joked about it that I make more in an hour than I made in a year touring with the band. So
Yeah,
it's just like I am happy to be where I am today. Let's just say that.
that's awesome.
It is.
How has that affected your songwriting? Like when you used to just be music, when you immersed in the music, there was one way. I'm assuming. Now that you're sort of diversified out of just strictly in that zone of music, how is that affecting songwriting for you?
Well, JT has been my songwriting partner for, I mean, honestly, this whole time. It's we work so well together that we've always sort of had this thing where he'd come up with a riff, or he'd have this lick, or whatever he's going to do, some sort of a vibe, and he sends me these little clips from his phone, and I listen, and I'm like, oh, I think I feel something there. And we just sort of always go back and forth, and still to this day we do the same thing. I mean, he sends me music on a if not a daily basis, every other day, and we still sort of figure out what it's going to be. Our music has changed a lot, and I think we'll see that over the time we spend together tonight. But it is one of these things that we started off as sort of like a southern rock band with big kettle drum, and sort of morphed into an Americana band. And this last record we just did is a full-on blues record. So as we got older, I think we just sort of settled into playing the stuff we just love to play, instead of feeling like we had to play the stuff that would keep us busy and touring. And
Yeah.
so as we leaned into that, I think it's some of the best music we've ever done. These last few records we've done have just been awesome.
So let's talk about the first song that we're gonna do. This is called Affliction. Tell us about it.
So JT had sent me this riff, and it's like AC/DC-esque 80s. Just, I loved it, right? And I'm like, oh man, I love this riff. It's like just dirty, muddy southern rock. And then I was in an airport, and I got delayed, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had this idea to write a song about Adam and Eve, and which is weird, but it was one of those things I just like. What would it have been like for Adam to basically be like, I'm not doing this. I'm not biting the apple, right? I'm not doing it. And so we wrote this song that was a very it's actually all based in scripture, but we wrote it in such a way that nobody would ever know that unless you sort of knew the story behind the song.
Right.
But it is literally the story of Adam and Eve.
That is funny. I never picked that out. Oh man.
Pretty cool.
That's one thing I love about talking to people on this show. And it's happened a few times now. This is the 7th weekend. This is almost every show I'm talking to somebody about their song, and I'm like, that is absolutely not what I thought that meant. That's so cool. But I say the other thing is whether or not people understand it for the way you mean it, as long as they take something from it, we did it right as writers,
That's it.
Um,
That's it.
Tell me about the process. Do you guys tend to agonize over songs? Are you guys quick writers? Is it sort of this and that? Like, how does it go for you guys?
We're pretty quick, I think. For the most part. It's funny. We've got great friends who are professional songwriters. I mean, Marty Dodson's one of our best buds, and he's got, gosh, I don't know, 7 number ones, 20 million records sold. He's written hits for Carrie Underwood and Blake Shelton and
Bunch of nobodies.
Purrington, and yeah, he wrote "Everybody Wants to Go to Heaven" for Kenny Chesney. I mean, he's a monster.
Yep.
And they're really structured, right? Like, they make time every day, and they're really focused, and they have a process. And we never really had that. We write because we're inspired to write. And if we're not inspired, it's really hard to write.
Yeah.
That's I think the difference between your Nashville cats who make a living at it is that it's not about inspiration, it's a job. And you've got to continue to fine tune your skills and continue to write. But for us, we never really did that. It was never a labor in that way. It was always an idea, an inspiration on something. And fortunately for us, we've been able to stay inspired for the better part of 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's a different beast when you have to produce songs when it's your job than it is to write for the love of creating something cool.
I've talked about it with some other people. There was a point, mid 2000, early 2000s, I was signed to a publishing deal in Nashville. So I was going down there 2.5, 3 weeks a month and just writing. They set up writing stuff, and I had to start kind of getting picky because it was so formulaic at times that I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel real, right? It doesn't feel authentic. If you start forcing it, honestly, it's the difference between the guys who are amazing and the people who don't. They're just not like that. They're a difference. I've always considered what we do. We're artists, and so we're creating, right? There's a difference between performers and artists, and we've known many great performers, but the artists have something to say, and the music is just a vehicle for a message, and that's what it's always been, for whether it's been Fort Pastor or Big Kettle Drum. For us, it's always been that the music is nothing more than a vehicle for the message we want to convey.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's give it a listen. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Affliction.
My eyes to avoid my affliction. I turn my back to escape your stare. I've been seduced by a mortal addiction, with a kiss and a fistful of hair. Keep those poison lips all to yourself. I don't need your love to save me from myself. I run away from the garden of Eden. Slap the truth out from your head. I've been deceived by my own conviction, and a woman from the promised land. Keep those poison lips all to yourself. I don't need your love to save me from myself. Keep those poison lips all to yourself. Need your love to save me from myself. I hear calling. I hear calling. I hear calling. I ain't calling, keep those poison lips all to yourself. I don't need your love to save me from myself. Keep those poison lips all to yourself. I don't need your love to save me from myself. Save me from myself. Save me from myself. Save me from myself. Save me from myself.
Oh, that's such a cool song and a great video too. And now that you've said what it's about, and as I'm listening to the lyrics, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like,
that,
oh,
that song was produced by the great Peter Hayes of Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. If you remember BRMC, just an incredible band. And Pete Hayes did that song for us. Just an amazing job of bringing it to life.
Very cool. What's going to be the next one that we're going to talk about?
So the next one, I'll do the first sort of single off of our last record, which was produced by Carla Olson, who was originally with the Textones in the 80s and
Okay.
has gone on to produce many acts, from Percy Sledge to, she's done some work with Clapton, she's done work with Bonamassa. She's amazing. And so she produced this last record for us, and when she got her hands on this song, it ended up becoming the first single off of the last record, which is called "I Thought You'd Be Bigger," which is what everybody said the second time they saw us play, which was, "Man, I thought you guys would be bigger by now," but that wasn't the case.
Yeah,
it wasn't the case.
It's funny how so many different things, you and I have talked about it so many times, but my 10th record was my best of. I figured, let me have some fun. And it was the songs that should have made me rich.
Yes. So much, man. Listen, again, I don't think people realize how hard it is to make a living in music.
Yeah.
For any length of time at all.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, it's one thing to be a weekend warrior and play your local bar for a $50 tab on a Saturday night. It's another thing to support a family with music. And, we've been incredibly blessed to be able to do it for 2 decades. And
yes.
Yeah, this song, we really wanted to sort of go back to some Motown roots. You know what I mean? That's really what's inspired this record, was to get that. Let's bring the horns. Let's bring the background vocals, that real sort of Motown feel, and that's what led to this. This was the first song that we knew was going to be on this record, and we just love it. It's a song called "Bring That Love to Me."
All right. Now, when you wrote it, you wanted that feel. How did the content come about?
So again, JT he's magic, man. He's magic of coming up with a song. I can tell him the type of feel that I want, and he's just incredible at coming up. So he came up with this vibe of like a, and it's just
right away that makes you do this.
Right? It just makes your head bop, and it's got that. You can hear the horns in the background, and then those little riffs of, it's that, it's got that vibe that just had it written all over it. And we brought in a horn section on this song. Incredible musicians. We got a chance to record this record with Bob Dylan's band. And so we did it with his bass player, his drummer, Don Heffington. We did it with Barry on keys, who was with him the night he went electric in 1965, whatever it was. Absolutely incredible musicians, and it was an experience. It was a once in a lifetime thing, and Carla knows all of them and was so good that we were able to just sort of pull it all together and produce this record with her almost 2 years ago now. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So what's the name of this one again?
This is called "Bring That Love to Me."
All right. Here we go.
Okay. Cool.
Baby, I'm here all alone. Why won't you pick up your phone? I'm full of a whiskey, feeling kinda good. I sure wish you would. It's 2:15. Last call went down, but still no you. Oh, I'm stumbling home with you on my mind, wishing for some your love.
be that loving. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, you're one of the colors. Ooh, 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 ooh. You gotta bring that love to me.
Damn, if that's not a feel-good song. Like, I was sitting here like,
Right? That's our Will Smith summertime jam.
Yes, that is. Yes, that is. Now, what one of your records was that one on?
That was on I Thought You'd Be Bigger.
Oh, that was on that one. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just good. That's just, yeah.
Good vibe, man.
See, I thought that would be bigger.
Right? That's right. I think we were on the charts for 3-4 hours, something
Nice.
like that. I mean, it was good. We actually, so here's the crazy thing. We debuted that record number 3 on the iTunes charts for blues.
Wow.
And it was like Boz Scaggs and who else was it? It was Boz Scaggs released the record that same week and was number 1. And Buddy Guy was number 2, and we were number 3. So I mean, it was crazy to debut 3 as our highest debut ever in a genre that no one has ever heard us before.
Yep.
And it was awesome. It was an awesome experience.
That's so cool. That's got to be a great feeling. And you're sitting there looking at legends too. Not like, yeah, it was this guy. It was like Boz Scaggs and Buddy Guy. A big kettle drum.
Right.
A big kettle drum.
Take it.
That's awesome, man. So you go into the studio with that song, and you're like, okay, we know we want the R&B thing, we want the horns thing. Who produced that record again?
Carla Olson.
Okay. How did you translate to him what you were looking for with this one?
So here's the thing. You go in with all the plans. So listen, like before this record, the last 5 records or so we did in Nashville. So we just, Nashville has a very specific way that they do things. They have the Nashville number system. It's an entirely different process. You have 2 months of pre-production. You're sending everything to them. They build it in the box, right? They lay the song all out, and you start to show up and you replace your parts with whatever they put in. And it's like a puzzle. This record we decided to do live. So we played these songs live, and we knew we were going in with Dylan's band. And so, we sent lyrics a couple months before, we sent demos, we did everything. We get into the studio, and we did this record. The majority of the record we did in one day.
Awesome.
Which was just crazy to think of, but it's freaking Bob Dylan's band. So
Yeah.
You take what you can get, right?
Yep.
So we were like, all right, this is what we're going to do. So we recorded it at Musicians Institute in Hollywood. And so we're like, okay, we're going to get into the big room. So we got into the big room, and we're getting ready to record. We walk in, the band is there, and we're introducing ourselves, and we're like, so guys, what song do you want to start with for this? And I'll never forget Don Heffington, the drummer. He goes, oh, we haven't listened to this yet. We have no idea.
Oh, get out of here.
And so I start having like a panic attack, man. I'm like, we're doing a whole record today. And like, how do you, and I start like doing this. I can't even finish a sentence. And he looks at me and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, we got it, kid. And he turns around and he walks into the booth. They took 2 takes of every song and we were done.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, that's the difference between a 70-year-old guy who's done this more than I could ever possibly imagine, and us amateurs who walk in thinking that our stuff don't stink. But it was hysterical. But it really, they brought this record to life. Recording live, I know you've done this. I know you've done it both ways, right? So you've gone in and piecemealed it together where you do each track by track by track by track.
Yeah.
And then you've done stuff where you just get in there with the band and you record it live, and it's just got so much more energy when you do it that way.
Yeah.
That it was awesome to see each other, to be able to see the drummer and see JT, and I'm in a vocal booth, but it's full on glass, so he can see me and I can see him, and we could still sort of have that nonverbal communication. I think that makes songs even better when you feel it, when you're in the groove, when you've sort of locked in, and you can just enjoy it for what it is. It's really hard to do that when you can't see people. And so this was being able to make that visual contact, being able to sort of settle into the groove and let the groove move a little bit. There was no click track. We weren't playing. I mean, it was just click it off and let's play this song. And so the songs have life as opposed to just sort of this programmed feel that everything is so orderly.
Right. And there's that spontaneity because for them it was brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like old, like, oh, okay, yeah, we got it. We practiced it 100 times. No, it was like, yeah, all right, how's this sound? Okay, good.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's awesome though. That just brings, like you said, a life to a recording that sometimes most times, let's be honest about it. You could tell a song that's been overproduced or over rehearsed, before they recorded it.
It's really what makes, I mean, if you've watched, I'm not a huge fan of any of the reality music shows, but this Songland show I've watched a couple times because I've had friends who've been on it. And so what I love about that show is it shows you the difference of being with a great producer. Somebody who understands, somebody who hears the potential in a song, but doesn't just put their fingerprint on it so that exactly who produced it. And that, I think that not all producers can say that. There's some producers that you hear something and you go, oh no, I know who that is. I know who produced that.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, like a Mutt Lange song. We all know a Mutt Lange song.
I was just going to say the Mutt Lange era, it was Mutt Lange that produced that song, right?
Yep.
Even the early, the Brian Enos and the early U2 stuff that, I mean, you just sort of heard it once he did that record. Everybody wanted the multiple delays and all that sort of stuff, and it had that same sort of vibe. But it's really been interesting to watch that show and hear what each person does, because they all have like their skill set, and they all you got Ryan Tedder, who's written songs for 8 bazillion people. And Shane, is like, the guy blows me away with his ability to pick out that perfect lyric, to be able to take that song to the next level.
And it's funny how one word
on the show are just amazing.
It's funny how one word can change things. Last week we had Dan Tracy on it. Dan is Alan Parsons' guitar player, and he had a song that Alan cut on the record that Dan wrote, and he said that it was like, Alan took the song and made these minuscule changes that made these massive differences. And that's a good producer.
Totally.
He was like, I'm going to change this word just to mean this instead of this, but that turn in the word blew that line to a whole new place. And
that was our biggest lesson writing with Marty. We wrote probably, half of 2 records with Marty. And, I had this whole sort of metaphor thing we were writing in this song, and it was, he reads it, he looks at it a couple times, he listens to it, and he's like, so what are you trying to say here? And I'm like, I'm just trying to say, basically, I love you. And he goes, then just say, I love you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And the simplification is such a difficult thing, because as artists, we want that perfect metaphor. We want that, oh, I've never heard it said that way before. And at the end of the day, people just want to feel, man. And if
sometimes it gets convoluted, though. We get so artsy that we lose the message.
That's exactly right. And that was my biggest problem of writing songs, is I had a tendency to overcomplicate. And so I had to learn, and that was really Marty's influence, is just say what you mean. Say what you mean, so that somebody goes, I've been there, I felt that. And that is that's hard to do when you want to make it pretty.
Yeah.
All
right, so what song are we going to go to next?
Just a Man.
Okay.
Just a Man.
So tell me about Just a Man.
this is our most successful song in the history of either band. This song has been licensed so much. It has literally been on dozens and dozens of television shows.
Wow.
Everything from Discovery Channels, every biker build-off, every tattoo show, they've all used this song. And this is one of our favorite songs we've ever written. We wrote this song to honor Martin Luther King Jr. And so I had this concept. Again, JT had this riff. And I'm like, that is an incredible, incredible riff. And I had this idea that I wanted to write a song that basically half of each verse came from famous speeches from Martin Luther King Jr. And the other half was our response as to what we're doing to try to keep that dream alive, right?
Okay.
And so that was the concept behind writing this. And we wrote it. It was on the first Big Kettle Drum record, the self-titled record, and just rockin' song. And that's where all the licensing has come from, that rocking version. What you're going to hear is a version we did acoustically at a radio station.
Right.
And it was we sort of Americana-ized it. We went through this phase where we got tired of lugging around 75-pound amplifiers.
I think we've all been there.
Like, I'm 48 years old. I don't want to be lugging a 75-pound amplifier into a gig.
Yep.
So guess what? Welcome to acoustic world. We are an Americana band now, and that is what we literally did for probably 3 or 4 records. And we just retooled this song to make it more of a Mumford Lumineers-esque Americana song, and that's the version you're going to hear.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Big Kettle Drum, Just a Man.
As I said, we play for 30 to 50 people, more in a private setting. That's an invite-only setting. But these are people who become fans for life, and not just the casual fan who shows up at a bar screaming "Freebird."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's a great opportunity to get some more fans live on the radio today. Yes. So can you play us a song from the new EP?
Certainly. Happy to do it.
We have live in the studio, Big Kettle Drum on WFIT. Suitcase kicking, fiddle playing, banjo slinging, slide guitar, Americana band, big kettle drum on WFIT. Another track from the new EP called Lock and Key. That one sounded great.
From hard rock to AOR, heavy metal, 20th Century Music is your favorite new reissue company. With releases from major label artists such as Lion, Bad Habit, and Cold Sweat, to obscure acts like The Arrow, Wicked Witch, and Wintercat, we've got you covered. Visit us at 20th-century-music.com for your favorite music now. What a great song.
Thanks, bud.
That's awesome. It's so fun to watch JT play. He has become such a great slide player over the years.
Seriously.
When I first met him, he was just sort of touch and slide. He had not ever played it before. And just to see where he has become such an accomplished slide player, it's just been such a joy to watch. And who was that on bass?
That was Rick Huffman.
That was Rick.
That was Rick. You know Rick.
Yes, I do.
Huffman. Yeah. So Big Kettle Drum, has gone through many. JT and I have been the nucleus of that band since its inception, and we've had many bandmates over the years that, just depending on the record and what we were doing and sort of the vibe we were going for, we would bring in different musicians. So on that one, you saw Rick, and Natalie was playing violin on that one as well. And so, we've, if you know Jen Lowe, Jen played drums for us for a while as well. Jen was Jason Mraz's percussion player for a while. And just, again, we've been really blessed with some incredible musicians that just want to come and hang out, and we take them out on tour and just have a great time.
That's awesome. All right, we've got one more song to go. So let's start. Let's talk about that. What's the name of this last song?
The song is called "Let Me Be," and this is a song that we've never really recorded. We put out a live version of this song, but this was a song that I wrote right in the middle of what was going on with my son, and sort of in the battle. Sometimes people, they mean well, they want to help, but I just wanted to be left alone. You can only take so much, and all the goodwill, and I was very appreciative, but there comes a time that you don't need to come and try to fix a problem. You just need to sort of stand next to someone and let them know you're there, and that's good enough. And this was a song that JT had sort of this riff that he had sent me, and the song just poured out of me lyrically, of just let me be. That's all I wanted, was just for people to let me be. It's probably the most difficult song we've ever written, and the hardest one to. It's probably never recorded. We've only played this out a couple of times because it's a tough song. Brings me back to a place that I don't care to visit, but I believe it's one of the best songs we've ever written. And the people that have heard the live versions have said it has just profoundly affected them. And so I thought it would be a good way for us to end our session tonight together.
And I've never heard this song, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
All right.
You bet.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Brant Menswar, Let Me Be.
Let me be. You got it. Stop trying to fix me. I don't want to get it right. I just want to hide from the light. This ain't that movie forget what it's called. Will you tell me over and over and over it's not my fault? You gotta let me fall down. Let me climb that wall now. Drop me straight down to my knees and let me be. Stop trying to fix me. I've earned the right to be sad. Just let me wallow away like a baby all pissed off and mad. Don't quote me the Bible or those fancy red words. Just walk beside me. You don't have to guide me. Just let me hurt. You gotta let me fall down. Let me climb that wall now. Drop me straight down to my knees and let me be. All the wisdom in the world won't change my circumstance. So I'll go on my own way and just take my chance. You gotta let me fall down. Let me climb that wall now. Drop me straight down my knees and let me be.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a tough song, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as you know, I think as songwriters we use our ability to write as therapy, and for me in that moment, it's what got us through. It was my way of telling people to leave me alone without having to say leave me alone.
Right.
And I think they got the message, and Theo pulled through, and we pulled through, and it's the fairy
It's a
tale
happy ending
that sometimes you don't get. Yeah,
Yeah. That's a good happy ending.
it is.
So,
It is.
man, thank you for taking the time tonight to be here on the Sunday Storyteller series and telling your stories. It
Let me
means a
tell
lot
you.
to me that I know how busy your schedule is, and I know how things are, and that you took the time. It means a lot to me, my friend.
Well, listen, man, you know that I love you, and I have respected you for the better part of 2 decades, and just
Back
there is
at ya.
no one who works harder, and there is no one that I want to see succeed more than you. And so anything I can do to help you along that way, you can always count on me.
And when we got plans in action, we've been talking about some songwriting, and we got some other irons in the fire that we've already started. So we got some stuff to do, my friend.
I'm looking forward to it, brother.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm going to put his info up there on the screen. Make sure you go to his website, check it out. You're going to want to hit his YouTube, check out some of his speaking. Very powerful. Next week, we have Brianna Grace on the show. If you're local to the South Shore, you know who Brianna Grace is. If you're not local to the South Shore, you're going to find out who Brianna Grace is. A lot of you know her as my partner in Brie and Tag. So, but we're going to get away from the Brie and Tag thing and find out who Brianna Grace is as a songwriter. I want to thank Brant for coming on the show tonight. Please stop by the Facebook and look at the schedule. We got a lot of great songwriters coming up in the next few months. Don't forget, we're live every Sunday, 6 p.m., and then we're on Roku, and we're streaming, and we have a 7 p.m. slot on Thursdays. So I will see you guys next week. Hey, by the way, here's our Facebook.
Took my ticket. I can't believe I'm going through this again. Not again. I took a chance, I took a leap. I guess I got myself in too deep. I don't regret it, but I wish it didn't have to end. No. Now these tracks are taking me home. Take me where I wanna go. They take me where things are. Where they are easy, and I need something easy, something where I don't cry every night about the mess that is my life. I swear I'll clean my act someday, but today, take me away. Something easy. I sit and watch the world flashing by in a New York minute. I wish it all didn't have to go so fast, so damn fast. I close my eyes and breathe real deep. Maybe try to catch a little sleep and dream a bit about my future and not the past. Yeah, and I know I'll make my mistakes, but that's the chance that I'll take, 'cause I know it can be easy, and I need something easy. About the mess that is my life. And I swear I'll clean my act someday. Yeah, but today, take me away. Oh yeah, 'cause it's time to cash in my chips. I've paid my dues on this trip, and I think I'm due for some lucky time. For some lucky time. In the past, my time is coming up fast. Oh yeah, it's time for my life to be easy. Yeah. Someplace where I don't cry every night about the mess that is my life. Swear I'll clean my act someday, but today